to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item C, Secretary Pro Tem. Superintendent Higgins is unable to be here tonight. As you know, the superintendent acts as a secretary for the board and keeps our minutes. Mr. Markosian has kindly volunteered to take notes for tonight's meeting. For him to do that, a motion and a vote allowing him to act as Secretary Pro Tem needs to happen. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to allow Mr. Markosian to be Secretary Pro Tem tonight.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Does that happen? Do that now?
Yep.
Let's make an adjustment in which we can talk about the upcoming Christmas holiday.
Okay. In particular, Abby?
The days in which we're going to be off.
Okay. So have a discussion and consideration regarding
Christmas vacation.
Christmas vacation. Okay?
Holiday. December vacation.
Okay. Did you get that, Paul?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What's the motion? Do you have a discussion?
About the upcoming December vacation.
Just make a motion, Abby.
I'll make a motion, we amend the agenda to have a discussion about the upcoming December vacation, school vacation.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item E, approval of minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the following meetings as presented. November 9th, 2021 school board meeting, November 16th, 21 special school board meeting, November 18th, 21 special school board meeting, and November 23rd, 21 special school board meeting.
Second?
I'll make a second to that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. I do not have any communications or correspondence. Does anyone else?
No.
None? Okay, moving on. Item G, public participation.
My name is Gwen Clark. I'm here to speak to the board and to parents about CRT and SEL and the 80 other names that it's known as. It's been in our schools since last year and possibly before that. 13 administrators, teachers, and staff received training all of last year while our kids are struggling with academics during a pandemic. When asked about it being in our schools, CRT training calls for exactly what was told to us by school board members. We don't have that. It's a college course. The curriculum director denied it, the superintendent denied it, and our school board denied it. In our schools, it will and has caused intensified racism by skin color, by gender, and by class, economic standing. It touches all grade levels, and is part of the secret squirrel game played by the powers that be, because parents do not have access or very limited access to our schools. It is defended and inserted by misdirecting, incriminating, intimidating, separation of who we are and who our kids are, use of inappropriate pronouns, chosen names, manipulating students and parents, and sometimes other teachers, disseminating, commitment, monitoring, holding accountable, and embedding within the school system, and finally, coercive persuasion. None of this has anything to do with academics. Cults maintain their power by promoting an us versus them mentality. They do this all by implementing ideology of dividing the school and community by race, gender, and class economic background. Instead of allowing our kids normal thought processes and creativity, they teach our kids how to think, how they should feel, what they should believe, and they do all of this in the secret squirrel game behind the guise of education, gaining information from our kids about their parents, their home, their beliefs, and they do this in grades pre-K through grade 12. It's a sort of dumbing down of our children where they use peer pressure and mandates to gain control. They don't ask parents for permission to interrogate our children, and they don't feel that they have to. If you haven't already done so, be sure to check what reading materials are in your schools for minors. The wearing of masks in order to get a public education, which, by the way, is a protected right, isn't about safety. It's about control, and it's about money. Because if the COVID funds were taken away tomorrow, our kids would be attending school maskless, without pool testing, able to participate in after-school functions, go on field trips, attend school dances and school gatherings, and actually learning academics, just maybe excelling in those academics. When I was in college, I turned out to be a gym teacher. They had a saying that said, "Those who can teach, teach. But those who cannot teach, teach gym." Well, I think it needs to be changed to those who can teach, teach. But those who cannot teach, teach CRT and SEL. If you don't see this in the Ellsworth schools, you've been living under a rock. Ask your kids questions about their school day, not yes and no questions. And sometimes they will say, "I can't tell you because it's a secret in our class." Then you should be afraid. Talk to your kids and ask them what they learned in school today. And I have one more thing. I don't know who to give it to. It's a FOIA request for all of the information, text messages, telephone calls, emails from the school board members and from the administrators on our non-gender bathrooms.
Thank you, Gwen. Anyone else?
My name is Sarah, and I was here tonight to speak on making the masking optional, but less than a day, 24 hours ago, the agenda was stripped of us, and I think we all know why that was. There is no point on giving facts or data about all the schools that have lifted their mask restrictions and how successful they are doing. I feel I won't be listened to. In fact, I know I won't be listened to. She's on her phone. They're not listening. Facts don't seem to matter at all. Facts are, it's been 2 years of mandated masking, and according to the experts, COVID numbers are still up. School board page says school board members are locally elected officials. The role of the school board is to ensure that the school districts are responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of our community. This statement is nothing more than empty words. Parents, students, and teachers voted overwhelmingly to go with optional masking now. Optional masking. You were voted in to represent the voice of the parents, and that is not what is happening. Parents are watching helplessly as the children get suffocated daily by a dirty cloth that is merely a feel-good tool / Band-Aid. We all know that this is about control and fear. We know that the school board does not believe in masks. We know this, that you do not believe in masks unless you are at a school board meeting. Because otherwise, you guys are throwing holiday festivities at your homes with over 20 people there, and not one person was in a mask to be seen. Now, people will argue that they are all vaccinated. Well, so is 95% of the Ellsworth students. And now kids as young as 5 can get their own. So by the own board members' words and comments and behaviors, this is a no-brainer. The mask mandate should be over. And I'm not even mad that you guys were having parties and having a good time and friends and food and drinks and there's all kinds of peoples around. It looked like wicked fun. So with that being said, Why are the kids not being given those same choices? Why is it just a group of 6 people keep deciding the outcome of each time with no input from this community? It's starting to seem more like a dictatorship to me, and last I checked, this is America. So please stop with the rules for thee but not for me attitudes, because none of this is making any sense. There is no science to any of this anymore, that you can test positive and go to school but not participate in extracurricular activities. It doesn't make sense. So if you're on the school board, you can have parties and participate in life freely, but if you are a student, your rights are null and void. What is honestly going on? Is it money? Please stop with the hypocrisy. The charades are over and you guys have been exposed. Please release your claws from these children. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Administrator board reports. Building administrators.
Good evening. I'm April Clifford. I'm the principal at the Ellsworth Elementary Middle School. You have my report. There's just a couple of things that I want to highlight. We had parent-teacher conferences, and they have all concluded, and we had excellent participation through that. I've shared the percentage numbers by grade level in my report, but I'm really happy the number of parents who participated. One of the highlights of the past month was our animal adaptations presentation. I know that you saw the picture in color, but for those in the viewing audience, the Downey's Audubon Society sponsored an outdoor presentation from Chewonki in which they brought live animals to our school for students to participate in a learning activity. We were lucky enough to meet Jenny the possum, which completely stole the show in that picture. She was posing. This met a standard in grade 3, so all grade 3 classrooms got to participate in this, as well as they brought a mammal program, and the middle school life skills students were able to participate in that as well. Students got to also see a tarantula, a tortoise, and an owl, and they got to actually see the skin, or I forget the word, the skin of a wolf. They had like the skin, and kids got to see it and touch it and feel it, and it was just a wonderful experience. And I want to thank everyone involved in that process. That programming was delivered at no cost to the school. So it was an absolutely fabulous day. I gotta put my glasses on for the rest, I'm sorry. I did share a picture. As most of you know, we had a large number of kindergarten students that were out, and from 3 classrooms, and they combined and used the Tamberg, the Polycom technology, and brought remote students in. And I shared a picture of what that kind of looks like in a classroom. And most of you saw the teacher who was delivering the lesson, and then the Polycom on the side where you could see that the students had logged in, and you could see the students in the classroom. This gives you a kind of a glimpse of what it looks like when we have a large number of students out in a grade level. As most of the K-4 parents know, technology devices are headed home. Most went home today. They'll be trickling out this week as we partner with the technology department to make sure all the devices have cases. Teachers will be giving, some teachers will be giving some work on them depending on the grade level and the teacher. That's targeted instruction for foundational skills using programs like Math Accelerator that works on math skills, or eSpark. Not all classrooms are giving homework with regard to that, but you need to check with your child's teacher. I sent a video with some information, board policies attached to technology, as well as the technology protection program. A couple of questions about that program that have come in is that program is optional, but we would like you to either accept or decline coverage so that we have that on file. So for parents that are listening, to make sure that they have that. I want to thank Machias Savings Bank. They made a monetary donation to provide winter gear for students at the Ellsworth Elementary Middle School. Our teachers have made a list of specific sizes of boots and hats and gloves that they have, and we're shopping for those, trying to shop for those as they've been pretty much picked over, but we're doing our best to make sure that kids have what they need. When students walk in to the school, on the left, there is a table full of hats and mittens. So if they need something to get them through the day, those are there. They're from that program, and also the program from last year that was sponsored by some of the ESSER funding to make sure that we had warm gear for students. I do want to talk about Hope for the Holidays. We were able to sponsor several families, and we've had food baskets go out, but I'll do a report out that in January once that process is finished. But I definitely want to thank Miranda Lambert and Kelly, as well as Brenda Frost and Stacy Wood, who have worked tirelessly to make sure that our EMS families who are in need at this time have an opportunity to have a great Christmas holiday season. And I also want to thank our community members for supporting our families as well in that process. And just a reminder for K-4 parents, tomorrow is PJ Day.
Yay.
And
Everyone loves that.
just for K-4, because we had picture day today. Middle school had their PJ Day today, but we dressed in our best today and had a great experience with that. Parents, if you are missing items, our lost and found table is quite large. So if you're missing coats, hats, sweatshirts, lunch boxes, water bottles, make sure your child checks the lost and found table. It's getting very, very large. I'm going to try to get a video posted on Facebook so people can kind of tag their kids and do that. I haven't had a chance to do that, unfortunately, today, but I want to make sure that you can make sure all of your stuff is there. And we have 2 current vacancies. We have educational technicians, as well as we're looking for an administrative assistant at EMS with a bookkeeping focus. Any questions for my report?
I'm so glad you do that video, because I've been telling Jackson to look for his lunchbox for like a month, and unless it poofed into thin air, it's on that table.
Yeah, I'm
sure.
going to get it a little bit more organized. It's organized one day, and then by the end of the day, it's not so organized, unfortunately. So we're going to get it organized, and I'm going to put a nice video out so parents will be able to do that. We want to make sure that items are picked up, because at the end of the break, we do donate them. So we want to make sure that they're picked up.
Is tomorrow picture day for middle school?
No, middle school already had their picture day. Ours was canceled. We were closed that day for contact tracing. So we were able to reschedule that for today. And I'll tell you what, our students looked amazing. We had some bow ties, we had some 3 vests, and we had some blazers. We had some beautiful dresses. Oh, braids. What they can do with braids now is just amazing. Our students look so amazing.
I did hear that they were told to say Rudolph. The bright side of getting it closer to the
Yeah.
holidays.
They were,
I said,
and
did you
I'll be
say
honest,
cheese? No, we said Rudolph.
Life Touch was amazing. They brought 2 photographers, and kids did not miss much instructional time. It was boom, 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 boom. We were done, I think, by the second lunch.
That's great.
So, and we started at 10:15 for lunch.
Wonderful.
So,
So the hats, scarves, mittens, and shoes, that was Machias Savings Bank. Was it also the clothing place in town that helped with that?
they did, yeah. We were given, the community closet donated thank you for reminding me of that, donated a large bags of mittens, and those were put on the table. And I'll be honest, they're already gone.
Wow.
So kids are in need, and I think some of them forget something in a hurry sometimes, and they grab an extra pair, and teachers are really awesome. They've been putting them in their cubbies or in their lockers, so in case that happens again, they're able to reuse those. But those from the community closet and Machias Savings Bank are well appreciated at our school.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me? All right, thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thanks, April.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Wright, the assistant principal at Ellsworth High School, and Mr. Clifford shared his report with you, and I'm just going to add a few things to what he shared. The big news was we had High School Musical happened, and we didn't lose a show. It was basically sold out with about 30 students participating. Great voices, I have to say, and I did it for a really long time. And she has got some great voices and talent coming up through. Many, many freshmen and sophomore were were cast in this. So it's great potential for the program, and we're really looking forward to their, they were auditioning for the one act tonight. So they've already started on the next project, and show choir's going. So that was very exciting. Mr. Clifford shared with you the link that Chris Popper wrote, which was just lovely. It's so wonderful for him to have participated in it. He was so gracious and so lovely, and it was just, it's great for the kids too, to have a well-known community member like that part of the show. So it was a great success all around, and we did the spacing and the masking and had no problems whatsoever. So we're really glad that that went through. Also, we are having our NEASC visit. I know they met with the board yesterday, I believe, with you. They are lovely people. We have a visiting team of 6, and this is our follow-up from our 10-year. This is our 2-year follow-up, which is happening in year 3 because of COVID, but nonetheless, that has been going very, very well. They are lovely people giving us wonderful feedback already, and really they've talked to students, teachers, staff. They are traveling all through the building, trying to get an eye on everything and get a real feel for the building. We want to thank Helen's Restaurant, Flexit, Sylvia's, Hampton Inn, all of who are helping host them. We wind up tomorrow, and we have closing remarks in the afternoon, and it has really been a wonderful reflective time for us to prepare and moving forward. These things have a purpose, and that purpose is supposed to help you reflect on what you're doing, and everything has just been COVID for so long that we haven't had the chance to do that. So I would say it's been a really good few days for us as well to kind of get back to thinking about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So that would be it. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just for the people at home, can you explain who these people are and why they're here?
I'm sorry, yes. I won't get the acronym right, but basically it's the New England Accreditation for School something. I don't know what the C is. But, it's the same as like a college accreditation where they come through and they look at every aspect of your school and the students, the facilities, the activities, the academics, just everything. And they come from schools all over the state. We have like a special ed teacher, we have math teachers, science teachers, a principal from another school. The head of the committee is from Connecticut, actually, out of state, which is also very interesting because he's never done a Maine school. So we've kind of shared some things. And they are reviewing us, and they give us feedback. We get commendations for things that are going well, and we get recommendations. And what this follow-up is, they gave us 4 different growth areas, priority growth areas to work on, which are things that we have looked at and tried to make improvements in. And so they're reviewing those things and will let us know how we're doing on those and anything else they might see that might have changed or bears commending or recommending, one or the other. So, yeah, does that cover it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So I know that Paul and Kelly were there yesterday and got to speak to them. I went in today, which was really nice. I got to speak to them, and they were so excited about some of the things that they saw in our school. And one of the things they pointed out, they were so excited to see the new bathroom setup. They said they were putting it in the report. And in fact, the gentleman from Connecticut had said they did that in their school 5 years ago, and he was so happy to see that up here. It was really going well. And about your Mad Gestures program, it's so funny you should mention Chris Popper. Because we just got an email from City Councilor Michelle Kaplan, who has an idea in which she would like to get the city council and maybe the school board involved in small acts in something the way Chris Popper did. So I thought I would pass that information on to you.
Well, I know just who to pass it on to, so I will do that. I will send it on down the chain. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's a lot of fun to
It
have
is.
because we have there are actually 4 adults involved in the show: Mrs. Barry, Mr. Clifford, Mr. Popper, and Mr.
Vendors.
Enders. I know. I almost, no, Linders, yes, I said Enders. I was thinking Ethan Lind, that's right. Oh, he was a riot. He was so good in the show, right? But it's great, and I know Mrs. Corson has been in past productions and talked about the connection and the kids
Yes.
seeing her differently and her getting a different perspective on some of the kids, so it's a lot of fun. It
Right.
is. We love that when that can happen, so.
So now you have it, and if you ever want
I
to
I will pass it
see
on.
something like that, you
I
might
will.
have a great listening audience for it.
Excellent, excellent, okay.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you.
Ray.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Wood, you up?
Good evening, I'm Travis Wood, principal at grades 5-8 at EEMS, and you have my report. I'll just go over some highlights. I really want to take time to thank staff. I mean, really, the stuff that they're doing day in and day out to make sure that kids are there, safe, and getting an education is paramount. Every day you see them and they're smiling. Every once in a while, you know, you have a character building day maybe, you know, and you walk down the hall and the teacher comes out and says, "It's so great to see you down this end of the building," you know, and that kind of stuff. It's really amazing what our staff is able to pull off, and I'm really appreciative of that. We have, I also want to thank the custodial staff because, again, when we find out about a positive case, it's just like, yep, it'll be ready by morning. You know, it's never about how many more positions we need. We will have it done in this amount of time, and it's great that all this is working together to make this happen. We have basketball, cheering, and theater going now. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Schoolhouse Rock way back when. So I have had "I'm Just a Bill" stuck in my head for at least 3 days now. But I love walking by the calf and hearing that, you know, the music coming out of the calf, and it's really great to see. The basketball and cheering are going really, really well. We're looking at hoping to find out what's going to happen with wrestling season so that can get started. I know that Mr. Downs is still looking for some coaching positions, so if you're interested in coaching at all, please contact Mr. Downs. We are excited to say that we have our DARE program going again. Our resource officer, Sean Merchant, has been with the 5th grade for the past couple of weeks. It's going really well. Our report cards went home Monday of this week for middle school. And we have a retake day scheduled for December 17th because, again, we actually got ours in before we had to keep pushing things off. We do have Spirit Week this week, and I want to put a special thanks out there to Sunshine Barrett, Mrs. Barrett, our teacher. Said, "I think we need to plan for something. The kids love doing this." And I said, "That sounds like a great idea. I wonder who would help with that." She goes, "I'll just do it." I was like, "All right, great." So she really did, and she ran everything by we have an advisory group, and she ran it by them, and they were all excited. So we are going to do the door decorating because that seems to be the biggest thing for middle school. We did have our pajama day today. Tomorrow, I think, is Hawaiian Day, I think. You know, I have to go home and check before I go to school tomorrow, but, yeah, and it's really neat. We have a rubric that we made for the door decorations, and I've asked staff to help judge it Friday, and we're gonna give awards on Monday for it. So that'll be nice. And then I also want to reiterate what Ms. Clifford said. Really, hope for the holidays, it took a group effort to get this together, and every day, we have a line of chairs now, those rolly chairs with bags in them, with like times. People are coming to get their stuff, so we know which chair to bring out, and they just have gone above board immensely to make sure this happened for the community. Do you have any questions for my report or for me?
You have "I'm Just a Bill" stuck in your head?
Yes.
I've been singing "Conjunction Junction" for about a month and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got to unwrap your adjectives.
Oh, yes, and that is Nick's favorite, by the way. That's his favorite. Thanks so much.
Wonderful, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Wood.
Good evening. I have a curriculum and assessment update for you. One of the real high points are our new math interventionists. They are off to a really wonderful start in the Ellsworth School Department. The three of us meet weekly to discuss the successes and challenge of this new program in our district, and our meetings are really the high point of my week. Janet Bertrand in the Ellsworth Elementary Middle School has been working with students both within the classroom and outside of the classroom, and already reports progress. She's been able to support classes that have a wide range of ability levels within one class and share her expertise so that she and the teachers can learn from each other throughout the class periods. By using both working with students in classes and in small groups outside of the larger classroom, she's finding success where different students can succeed and supporting teachers in the process. They're able to watch her while she's working with them in the classrooms, and she's able to watch them, and they're all learning from each other. So that's really been a trade of information, and she's really energized by them, and they seem to be energized by her as well as I talk to them. So it's really been exciting. Similarly, Natasha Minz, our new math interventionist who hails from the New York school system with really a wealth of classroom and administrative experience, has been working with every math teacher in the school, including Mr. Ellis in our special ed department. She's talked about ideas that they've shared that have helped her think of materials she could create for other introductory lessons in other classes. Ms. Minz, too, varies her teaching model from one-on-one tutoring during focused learning to co-teaching an algebra class with a teacher and monitoring student work in small groups. She has modeled lessons for teachers, but she's also pairing teachers up who she thinks have good ideas to share with each other. So she's been traveling from different classes, and in our conversation, she's been telling me, I see one teacher who I realize would pair really well with another teacher who they don't necessarily know each other very well because they haven't gotten to know each other because that teacher's new, and they've been in the classes so much, but since I'm going back and forth, I tell them about each other, and they happen to pass by, and they stop by, and now they've gotten to know each other. And so she's been kind of the go-between. So to sum up, I really wonder how we've gotten along so long without both of them. They're really wonderful professionals, and I know that we're a stronger district for having hired both of them. I've been really just so impressed with their expertise, and, if it's a silver lining of COVID that brought Ms. Minz here to get away from the city, then I'll take it. And Ms. Bertrand wanting to come to a different school district and try something new, then we are so lucky. And I just, a shout out to both of them and to let everyone know that our school district is just so much stronger for having them here, and I'm really excited. I wanted all of you to know that we are preparing to preview new math, writing, and spelling curriculum materials for grades K through 8 in January and February. We're going to start thinking about those things. Our most recent Title II grant will provide the funds necessary for teachers to be paid for any time necessary this summer, learning more about the materials that are chosen this winter. So in January and February and March, we're going to be having samples brought in for teachers to have time during that they can look at different things and choose these materials. And then this summer, if they have time to come in and learn more about them, we'll be able to pay them for that time. The math curriculum, Go Math, is being sunsetted by the company in the next year. And so we have not had a vertically aligned or integrated spelling or writing program since Ellsworth became its own school district in 2014. Now that the writing standards are being revised at the state level, and we have had 2 teachers sitting on the revision committee from our district, it's really an important time for this review of materials. So, and then the following year, we're going to review our science materials, STEM scopes, we've had for almost 7 years. So this is about a good time for us to start looking at that. That's about 7 to 10 years when you have a really robust program is a good time to review it again. And so we have a full schedule that I've mapped out of looking at those materials. That we've just adopted social studies in the middle school. And so it's, we have a rotation where we start looking at those things. The assessment schedule for the year, the NWEA winter testing window is fast approaching. It will be open from January 18th to February 10th. While it's not mandatory for the high school students, we will be asking that grades K through 8 take the assessment to gain important data needed to tailor instruction for students. The NUIA will be available to all 9th through 11th grade students as well. And it is hoped that students will consider taking the assessment, especially those students who are unable to take the test in the fall for the mandatory state seating. This information does help teachers know how to support students with very specific information that it provides about subsections of reading, language, and various subsections of math and reasoning. Because of COVID, a lot of kids have had a lot of different things happening at different strange times, and a lot of kids weren't able to take the test as scheduled. And even though high school is scheduled for fall and spring mandatory, there is an opportunity for them to take it in the winter because they weren't able to take it in the fall as we had hoped. So there is an available window for that. Good news, although it was late, we have finally approved the Title I, Title II, Title IV, and Title V grant. It was just approved by the state. And along with after-school and summer school funds, some really great projects have been approved, and I'm very excited that they've been greenlit, including the high school quiz bowl. We have money for the newspaper, the green team, a new mentoring project that Ms. Wright has designed. I'm very excited about that, and the academy work. At the elementary middle school, we'll be supporting the purchase of bicycles for the middle school. You'll remember that in the past, there was those new bikes that were convertible for the younger kids, and we bought bikes for the high school that they've been using at the high school with the new biking program during COVID. We'll now be able to have them in the middle school. So they'll be able to use the new path system that has been designed. And so now the middle school teachers in PE found a really great program through local bike sellers for a bike program. And we found a way to be able to fund that.
Cool.
And that was just approved. So I'm really excited about that. Bat Downs was able to put that together. And the reinvigorated outdoor classroom with art teacher Martha Baldwin as our dynamic new facilitator. She has amazing ideas. She's been looking and working with Chickadee about composting. She's talking to Jane Stackpole and her gifted students about designing irrigation systems, which she has so many exciting ideas. It's very fun. I meet with her once a week too, so that's been a lot of fun. And the Title I program, as well as robotics and STEM initiatives that integrate work with HCTC. And we also have district-wide funds to support teachers from all schools to review our new standards and review grading and reporting systems. So those grants are chock full of fun things too. So we are looking forward for some nice projects that our innovative teachers are continuing to think about, even though they are overwhelmed. As our principals have said, the teachers are working so hard, but they're also always thinking of new and exciting things for our kids to do. So I'm grateful for their ideas, and we're moving forward with trying to find them the funding.
Have we gotten the NUIA testing results from fall yet? Do we know when to expect those?
We have, and we're putting the data together, and so at the next board workshop, I can present that to you.
Great.
Awesome.
If you want to schedule that, I'm happy to work. Debbie Richards and I have put that report together. And so if you'd like to schedule that for the board workshop, the two of us are ready to present that to you.
We
Awesome.
like
Excellent.
that.
Okay?
Thank you.
So
Any other questions?
we were talking about possible new curriculums and standards. I really would like for you to possibly email myself and the rest of the curriculum committee to be joining you with some of this, so we can be looking at it. So we're not looking at it at the end, we'd like to look at it at
And
the
that's
beginning.
exactly why I wanted to share that with
Yeah.
you way ahead of time and let you know that it's coming.
Great.
That was exactly why I wanted to tell you ahead of time that we're like way now, we haven't started picking those things, because we wanted to give you a heads up that that's kind of where we're coming.
Great.
And we've designed kind of like the cycle.
Yeah.
And so I can give you that cycle now for like the next 5 years.
Oh, awesome.
Great.
So you can kind of see
That's
it coming.
That's really
Exactly.
We like that.
Perfect.
Right, kind of give you like a future plan,
That's wonderful.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
give you a
Rachel.
sense of what's coming. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Committee reports. I know that policy has not met, finance has not met. Personnel, we will cover that in a later agenda item. Mrs. Wright, would you mind commenting about dropout prevention, please? Thank you.
So our dropout prevention met on December 6th, and those meetings we usually structure, we do some updating from our meeting, our last meeting, which would have been in October. And so in October, our Hope Garden, we had our Hope Garden event and planted our Hope Garden. Our tulip beds are out front, two raised beds in the bus circle in front of the high school. And we had a nice little group, and I spoke very briefly, and Mr. Betts played guitar. We had a little music, and some people shared some testimonials type things. So it went beautifully, and we're hoping to see those yellow tulips pop up. Everybody helped. A lot of teachers were there and students, so it was fun. So their next project is we're hoping to create our own I Am gallery. The I Am More gallery that we had last year from Yellow Tulip Project. Our kids really wanted to do their own and see if people around school would be willing to be subjects. So we're going to try to make that happen this year. Our Inspiring Young Women group has met twice. I started that. I had girls approach me, can we still do that, Mrs. Wright? It was something pre-COVID that never came about. So actually we've had 3 meetings, and the first one was just kind of brainstorming topics and things they'd like to talk about. And then we had Dottie Small talk to us about self-defense, and that was a very good topic. And last time Miss Bernhardt taught them how to make pasta in a pasta maker that goes onto a KitchenAid, and I'd never done that, and that was so much fun. And the kids loved it. They made their own pasta and ate it. So just whatever kind of they feel like doing is what we try to come up with. So just spending some time together with them and modeling some things for them. So one of our big goal that we had decided on this year, scaling back from asking for a health center, was to move back and really, we think the main focus is mental health this year. It is just overwhelming. So we had discussion about what we're seeing in the schools in terms of numbers. We are, just some of the things we talked about, we are having, to support students, we are making space available for them to have counseling appointments, because there's so few in the community to be able to schedule right now that the only time is during the day. So if they need that and we can support them, then we make the space to support that. We are seeing just, our social worker is so busy, straight out all the time, that the nurse is spending a good deal of time with mental health students, needing mental health support. The guidance counselors both are. I would say all 3 of the administrators are. It's just overwhelming, the anxiety, and it's the behaviors too, right? Mm-hmm. It's triggering behaviors that we wouldn't necessarily have at the numbers that we're having. So we talked about different ideas about that, how we're going to approach that. We talked about doing some group therapy, or I hate to use the word therapy, but group discussions. I've asked Mrs. Van Dorn to create some activities surrounding support, anxiety, mental health, etc., to do through our advisories. Once we come back, we're going to introduce some more Rachel Challenge activities again. The mentoring program that Rachel mentioned is a peer mentoring program through Rachel's Challenge. We had done adult mentoring, but as you know, our teachers are so busy. There's not another extra minute they're not already working on things for students. And we think that peer mentoring works really well, and Rachel's Challenge already has that. So we're going to try and institute that after vacation as well. It's which things do we get up and running first. So, and then we also discussed our alternative education program with Mr. Betts. The numbers, he's kind of beyond capacity. He has 18 students right now in alternative education. And so we talked about, he gave us all his graduation rates and how many students are coming back and continuing year to year, to get to graduation. So we had some discussion about that as well, and the possibility of expanding that program or additional programming, perhaps for students that really need a separated space as opposed to still in the building. So those are just things we're talking about. Should any of that become something we're prepared to bring forward, we will. But right now, it's brainstorming what more can we do to support them and get them to graduation. So, any questions?
No, but thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item J, old business. Having none, we will move on to item K, new business. Item 1 is the personnel update. So I've been not looking forward to this agenda item. I am very sad to share with our board, our school community, and Ellsworth citizens that Superintendent Higgins has submitted his resignation. As I mentioned earlier, he is unable to be here tonight. In his absence, he has asked me to read his letter of resignation aloud, which I will do. Sorry, I had it right here.
Do you want the additional copy?
No, I've got it right here. It was right here. This is embarrassing, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's been a stressful week, to say the least.
Here it is, right here on top. Dear Chairwoman McKenney and members of the Ellsworth School Board, please accept this letter as my resignation from my position as Superintendent of Schools for the Ellsworth School Department, effective immediately. After a great deal of thought, consideration, and discussion, my wife and I have decided that my resignation will allow me to focus on personal and family health, wellness, and medical issues that require my immediate attention. I would like to offer my assistance to effectuate a smooth transition for the district. I will make myself available as best I can under the circumstances. Since returning to Ellsworth as your superintendent in 2014, I have had the pleasure of working with and express appreciation to the many board members, administrators, teachers, and support staff for their tremendous dedication to serving the best interests of our community's children and providing them with the highest quality academic and and extracurricular experiences possible. Those efforts have produced amazing results for our children and resulted in the continued growth and improvement of our school system. I would also like to thank the many members of the City Council, city managers, police and fire chiefs, public works directors, and all city staff members for their collective efforts and support of our schools over the years. Since 2014, the city and school department renewed and revitalized a strong partnership and have worked together towards the ongoing economic growth and development of our community, with noticeable success and in keeping with our schools healthy and safe. I would be remiss if I did not also express appreciation to all the citizens, businesses, and nonprofit organizations of Ellsworth for their unending support of our schools and children. Their support of our schools helped us provide great opportunities for our children and to fulfill our district vision and mission. As a lifelong resident of Ellsworth and proud graduate of Ellsworth Schools, I sincerely thank you for the opportunity and privilege to serve as your superintendent of schools. Sincerely, Daniel A. Higgins. Mr. Higgins' resignation is a huge loss to the Ellsworth schools in our community. He did an amazing job helping to recreate the Ellsworth School Department after we separated from the RSU. We have been truly blessed to have Mr. Higgins at the helm. He has always put what's best for our kids and schools first. He has served countless hours responding to staff and parents, especially over the last 2 years. He has worked tirelessly to support the district during the pandemic, all while maintaining his sense of humor. I'm honestly not sure he's had an entire day off since the pandemic began. As a board, we want to wish Mr. Higgins the very best in his future endeavors. We appreciate his service to the community and to our schools, and he will be greatly missed. I would like a motion for the resignation, and we can have additional comments during discussion, if you would like.
I recommend a motion to approve the memorandum between Ellsworth School Board and...
No, that's not the
No,
motion.
that's not. The motion to discuss this?
So I would, would it be a motion to accept his resignation?
Yes.
So,
I'll make the motion to accept.
I think we have,
Yes, we
Yeah,
have
we
a
have a-
recommended.
it's in an email somewhere.
you want me to,
Yes.
Go ahead, Paul. Find it.
I've got it if you'd like.
okay, go ahead.
Okay. I move to accept Mr. Higgins' resignation and authorize the board chair to execute a resignation agreement with him. It's hereby effective tonight. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Just that I would like to thank his spouse as well for the years of service to this district as well.
I also would like to add, I only worked with Superintendent Higgins for a short period of time, but I know that my spouse had lots of fun interactions with him when he was at Sumner High School. And I genuinely want to wish Mr. Higgins and his wife all of the best in whatever the next steps in their future are. And hopefully we'll see him around town at some of the basketball games and whatnot, so.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Also, under this agenda item, we need a motion and a vote to appoint an interim superintendent. Katrina Kane has graciously agreed to serve as our interim until we are able to hire a new superintendent. Katrina is not a stranger to the Ellsworth School Department. She has served as a teacher, curriculum coordinator, and the director of HCTC. She currently works in a part-time capacity as superintendent for Hancock and Lemoyne and shares central office services and space with the Ellsworth School Department. Being familiar with our schools, staff, and already having relationships and an office in the central office, Katrina seems like a natural fit to serve as our interim superintendent. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to appoint Katrina Kane as interim superintendent.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item,
I just wanted to, I think it's important to mention, and I don't think it's necessary to mention, but I do think it's important that we note that part of the reasoning behind changing the agenda was so that we could make sure that we took the time to be sensitive to this situation and to do the work that needed to be done so that we could get this all situated this evening.
It's been a very busy week.
thank you, Beth. Item 2, discussion and consideration of MOUs. Paul, would you mind?
Yeah, so in recent weeks, the Personnel Committee, consisting of Kelly and myself, have met with the Ellsworth Educational Healthcare Office professionals, which is the association that represents our administrative assistants. And we worked on a memorandum of understanding. This is something that takes place outside of the collective bargaining negotiations, which we concluded with this group last year. And it's just because of the unusual circumstances of COVID, it's an opportunity for an employer and an employee group to get together and discuss what accommodations need to be made and can be made to help the group get through the difficulties that are not normally present in their job duties. And it was a very collaborative effort. Two groups came together recognizing that there is a need to do something, to put something in place. And so, you know, we worked it out and came to an agreement, and then their association ratified it, and now tonight it's our turn to vote on whether we're going to also ratify it. Any questions?
You've all had a chance to read through it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a motion.
So I will make a motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding between the Ellsworth School Board and Ellsworth Educational and Healthcare Office Professionals, also known as EEHOP, as presented.
Have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Good work to all of you who,
Yes,
Thank you.
very much so.
hold on.
And I want to extend a very heartfelt thanks to the members of that association and the hard work they're doing. It's really, we're so blessed to have them. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. All right, item 3, appointment of administrator.
Oh,
Wait, hold on,
there's another MOU.
Oh, sorry, another motion.
All right. I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Ellsworth School Board and Ellsworth Educational Association as presented.
Do a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so just like with the EHOP group, Kelly and I met with teachers.
I think we forget we read these. Not everybody else did.
And the teachers also have had to take on a lot of extra duties and responsibilities and hours of work. And so both sides recognized that this was happening and that there is an opportunity and a necessity to address the extra workload and responsibilities. And again, it was a very collaborative process. There's a lot of trust on both sides of the table, which is, it's good to see. You know, there's, in some cases, with collective bargaining and processes like this, you have two sides that regard themselves as shareholders, right? And they're out to like just protect their own interests at all costs. And in other situations, you have the two sides who see themselves as stakeholders, which is different because the stakeholders have a lot of common ground and common interests. And, you know, I can tell you that when we came to the table to talk about this, we came as stakeholders, just like we did with the administrative assistants, and that made all the difference. And I want to thank the teachers all the teachers for all the hard work they're doing and the extraordinary extra effort and time that they're putting into this. And I want to thank the members of the team that met with us to craft this memorandum. And I think we did a good job.
Yeah, both sides, for sure. Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, item 3, appointment of administrator. This is a recommendation for the assistant special education director position. Lisa Backman has been recommended. She was the unanimous choice of the interview committee. Director McEachran Murphy and the team were impressed not only with Mrs. Backman's formal education, but also the depth and breadth of her instructional experiences, both in regular and special education. She is well-versed in special education law, is experienced with the various timelines and requirements in special education, and has leadership experience at the building level. She is known and respected by staff and will be able to make a smooth transition to the assistant director role.
I recommend a motion to appoint Lisa Backman as the Assistant Director of Special Education for the remainder of the 2022 school year with a 1-year administrative contract as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Here, okay, any discussion? I think this is a no-brainer. All those in favor? Great.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking this on during COVID.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Okay, and now we need to go back to the added agenda item to discuss next week's school schedule.
Yes.
Would you like to start us off, Abby?
Sure. As all of us here know, we have had numerous emails about the possibility of extending our December break because of the extreme stress that COVID has brought on, not only to the students, but the staff. And there is quite a bit of burnout. People can put on a happy face and come to school and work so hard, but only for so long. And there was a lot of back and forth with this because HCTC is always a big concern. You know, we have schools that send their kids to us and they need credit hours. There's a lot. So we have to really find a way to balance all of this. I know some of our surrounding schools chose to do this at Thanksgiving time, but it wasn't an optimal time for our district. So I think our chairwoman had a really great suggestion.
Well, it didn't come from the chairwoman, so
Oh,
I got feedback from some administrators, and so we definitely want to recognize the fact that, you know, there is a lot of struggling happening right now. There's a lot of teacher burnout. There's a lot of mental health challenges among not only staff but also students. And as you mentioned with HCTC, it's very unlikely, even if we wanted to make that happen with HCTC to not have school next week. It would make it very, very challenging. So something that was brought up was maybe as a happy medium, we go to school all day Monday and a half a day Tuesday. And that would count as 2 days.
Right. And we would be taking off on Wednesday.
We would be off Wednesday.
Which would add a day and a half to the break, kind of like a in the middle.
It would.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which I think is a very good compromise myself.
Right.
Personally, I just hope we get there, that the COVID numbers don't smack us so hard between them. But
well, and
it's
I
good to have goals.
Yeah.
I think even more than that is I think the numbers are going to be what the numbers are going to be because there's so much community transmission versus in-school transmission. So I think that this is more of like a mental health break for people. And we in the past years we've had a longer December break where you know we haven't gone until the 23rd, but because of the way that the holiday falls this year, it's kind of like you know, the end of the week. And I think that this is a decent compromise as well for parents, working parents like myself, who this potentially would give me some time to figure out what I'm going to do next week, but also only make it like one extra day that I have to figure out what I'm going to do next week, not 3 days that I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do
Right.
next week. So I think that that is kind of a good medium, because our students, our staff are in a place of mental health concern, but also parents who are, you know, seeing those repeated quarantines or what have you, are also in that same mental health state. So I think that this is a good in-between to kind of hopefully give everyone a minute to breathe.
My reservations about this are severalfold. I think that you mentioned the HCTC piece, and Amy's not here tonight, but I'm sure you've talked to her.
I am, yep.
Yeah, it is gonna disrupt HCTC. The half-day on Tuesday means that the afternoon kids will not be there. So those kids are missing 2 days of school. And then for working parents, you know, you mentioned, Beth, that gives you time to prepare. Well, some parents won't, they're just not gonna have options that are gonna be workable for their families. I understand the mental health thing, but I think we also have to recognize that being in school has been stressful for some students and staff. It's also been a lifeline for many of our students. And we heard earlier from Mrs. Wright about dropout prevention and the efforts to increase resources for counseling and social work. And our schools, all schools, not just our school, but all schools around the country, this is something they've had to take on more and more in recent years. And some of our kids, what's getting them through this crisis and through their troubles and their worries is having school and having the extracurricular activities that they do. And it's...
Food, yeah.
Having food.
Food, yeah, that's a good point.
Home isn't great for like this.
Yeah. So I received an email just a few minutes ago from Jamie Calandro asking me to remind everybody that on Thursday of this week is the art show and concert. Art show at 5:30 and concert at 7. Obviously, that's not next week, but I think the kids who are doing show choir, you know, they're in it. They're doing these things and the sports and everything. I just feel like we're taking something away from some of the kids who really depend on it. And I just want to recognize that if we end up deciding to do this, it's helpful for some people, but it's going to be unhelpful for others.
Yeah. Yes, and I recognize I'm in a special
too.
circumstance where I am able to work remotely, so that I know not all parents are in the same situation that I am with that flexibility, so.
I've been up in the air about this. I've gone back and forth so many times. And I could go either way. I'm wondering if maybe just even letting kids out early on Wednesday, half day on Wednesday. I don't know if that would really make a big difference.
Or even
but-
adding the day on Wednesday? Like, I understand what Paul's saying, because he's right, HCTC, if you're an afternoon session, you're missing 2 days.
But here's the thing, our surrounding schools, some of them called off early for Thanksgiving. And it was, those schools had the option to keep the kids going. They knew those kids were not gonna be at HCTC. They still made the choice. And I do feel like we are in a pandemic. This is not a normal year. And I feel like if we can do this for COVID and we can do it for a snow day, that at some point, that yes, this is the time in which we do it for a mental health day. I really feel like, and I understand completely about the food, because I was one of the people who got out there and delivered food to people who needed it at the last minute when our schools closed all of a sudden. So I've seen the need. I've rolled my sleeves up and I've been part of, that. I do think with enough with this much planning, I think a day and a half, because what happens is when we go half a day, we feed them. So we're asking parents to accommodate for one single extra day, and with all the people that we have in our district, with all of our students, with our almost 1,200 students, with our almost about 350 staff, I think that is so many people that we are taking in consideration, that I do think the mental health for all of those people are just as important. And I feel like I feel like there are so many people so close to the breaking point. And I'm sorry, but it wasn't the best plan to go so close to Christmas to begin with, to go so close to Christmas Eve. We're not giving people much time beforehand to get things in order. This is, for so many people, I'm hearing over and over and over again, this has been the most stressful Christmas season they've ever had to live through. And I have 3 friends that are skipping Christmas entirely because it's too much to take on. So I do feel like our staff needs this, and our students, they need this. They need this because breaking is not an option. And at what point, if we don't do this now, we basically don't do it ever. Because no, throughout all of COVID, we have never had people reach out like they have reached out now to say, please, we need a break. We are understaffed, we are overworked, and we are falling apart. And they matter just as much as anybody else.
I think also, I really do feel for the kids that are needing school and being there is beneficial to them. But I remember my kids coming home from kindergarten and telling me about filling up the bucket. That was something they learned from their kindergarten teachers. And if their bucket isn't getting filled, they can't fill anybody else's bucket. If we don't take care of the staff and everybody, they're not going to be as available emotionally to keep giving all the extra attention that they need to give to the kids that are struggling. So I think having that little extra break is, on balance, very beneficial. And I don't know if we can discuss this now, but can we work with the schools to make sure that kids get sent home with some extra food on Tuesday?
Mrs. Clifford and Mr. Wood, can you speak to that? Does the backpack program still exist?
It's
not in the same format.
Right, exactly. It's not the same format.
But didn't we not somewhat cover this with the Angel Tea program and some other things that have been going on, that we've kind of been prepping for certain aspects of the holiday and break?
I know that we received 35 food baskets that we're in the process of delivering right now. Some have gone out, and then we're also receiving an additional, from Pug, do you know how many? Several additional baskets that include a turkey, and not just shelf-stable foods, that we're going to be delivering. They start coming in tomorrow, and we're going to try to turn that out as quickly as we can for families.
If we added an additional day to the holiday break, would there be a way that we could make sure that those families that are in need either have enough from those baskets or get that additional day, so that those kids who rely on
We're trying to
them-
get all the baskets out this week.
Okay.
So that's the goal right now, is to have them all out this week. Most of them, I think we had 8 left to deliver today from the 35, which didn't include a turkey. And then we have the additional baskets coming in tomorrow. So our goal is to have them out all this week.
So but what I mean is, do you feel like if we added an additional day to the break, that there would be enough food in those baskets to cover that extra day?
The baskets are focused on the holiday dinner, so
Okay.
they're not focusing on the other components. It's actually a conversation that we had today.
Okay.
So
So if we added a day, that would require us to have some.
we do have
connection with the food
options for that,
service.
for some students and staff, but there are requirements with regard to that. It's not, we don't have an open food pantry similar
Right,
to
it's
the high
not
school.
like you can just be like,
Okay.
Yeah, the high school does have a food pantry, though,
Right.
that they're able to access, but at the elementary, middle school, we do not.
If we feel like we need to provide, could we say, if we have a large, if we have people reaching out saying, I can't do this because of food reasons, could we possibly say, let's get an idea of a dollar figure, go to the PTF, maybe somebody in the PTF, like myself, could go shopping and provide that.
I
You
think
know,
if we found that there were students in need and we reached out anywhere in our community, that we would have an overwhelming response in the city of Ellsworth. That's how I
think
feel.
so, too. Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Yes, I agree.
The only thing I'll add is that, you know, we have certain, we'll end up having to make up this day or days at the end of the year, so, and that, I'm sure that we're going to be hearing at the end of the year that everyone's
Ready to be done.
ready to be done, and, you know, but we're going to have to keep pushing forward
What
then.
is our current end
I-
date,
see,
the
I don't-
17th?
Of course,
I
we don't
don't-
know how many snow days we're going to have. and-
Right, but I want to say when the other sending schools did this, that was part of the stipulations that they did not have to make it up.
Well-
That there was something, I don't know what the law is this year, but for some reason, I believe that they're not having to make, the
We-
people who took off extra at Thanksgiving, that was not planned in the original calendar year, that they are not making up those days.
We have to have kids in school 175 days.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Last
What-
year, they provided like a grace,
Yeah.
but this year, they're not doing that.
Someone mentioned to me in a message / email in the conversations about this, is they asked if we could call it a day of remote study hall.
Oh, I love that so much.
Then it's a school day.
Can't do that.
Okay.
That school that they posted that did this already, they had built in 2 extra days.
Okay.
So they
Huh.
could do that because they'd already built in 2 extra days to
Gotcha.
do
Right.
something like this.
Interesting.
So that's why they could do this.
Good to know.
That's good.
We
That's
haven't
very,
done that.
Okay.
that is very good
Just
to know.
Just to clarify, that school that everyone's posting about, I don't know, was it Dexter?
Dexter, yeah.
So they, I mean, I just talked to another district about, I mean, I was just on a curriculum directors meeting about how's everyone getting away with that? Because all of us were talking about, how can they do that? And we, you know, because we've all been getting pressure about how to propose that to our district. And they said that someone had called them to clarify, they had built that into their district so that they could do something like this. And so that's why they had a cushion, like they had, you know how Dan's talked about having a cushion of snow days?
Right.
Yeah.
They had built that in for this very purpose, like for COVID, so we can't do that.
Yep.
We will have to make it up.
Yes. However, if we do bring kids in for a half a day and provide lunch, that
Right.
counts as
You
a
can
day.
do
We
half a
don't
day
have to
and
make that
provide
up.
lunch. As long as you provide food, you can do
Yeah.
half a day,
Okay.
Right.
but you can't do it otherwise. So if we did half a day on Wednesday,
Yep.
But then again, we could just do half a day Tuesday, take Wednesday off, and do an extra half a day at the end of the year. When we're
We could.
maybe past COVID and a little, not quite as.
Sorry, I didn't mean
We
to.
are going to
I
be
didn't mean to
past
hop
COVID.
at your past COVID, but.
We are going to be.
Would you like to make a motion, Abby?
I make a motion that we adjust the calendar to go to school on Monday, we go a half day on Tuesday after lunch, we go home, and we have off on Wednesday.
I'm wondering, Abby, if you would be willing to amend that to kind of compromise the
Well-
compromise.
Hold on, Beth, first.
Go ahead, we need a
Yep,
second
we need a
first.
second first, before discussion. Okay. Discussion?
I'm just wondering if we can address Paul's HCTC concern about the afternoon students by instead of doing a half day on Tuesday, just simply doing the day off on Wednesday.
I had talked to, some people about the HCTC, and they were okay with this.
Right, and you had talked to Amy. Did Amy?
I talked to Mrs. Wall. She felt like it was an okay compromise and she could probably make it work.
As long, I mean, I feel like.
Not
as long as she
ideal
feels
for
like she can make that
HCTC,
work.
but
Because once again, these sending schools decided to take, they knew their kids were going to be missing days in November, because they were going to take extra
Right, but they
days.
didn't expect them to be missing
But
days in
but
December
at the same
with
time,
us
they had to
being
kind of think
out.
that we might. If they were going to do that, there has to be some reciprocating to think, if we're doing this as a district and another district, that the district we're sending them to too. I mean, you can't hold our teachers accountable for something that another district planned or did not plan. Like, that's not fair, because we are their elected officials, and we are here to look out for them. They have they're sending schools, they have their own people, and they have to figure that out too.
I just think, I'm thinking completely separately from the Thanksgiving holiday break. I'm thinking entirely separately, like what is that impact for them, for HCTC students? Will that impact the seniors at HCTC? I think is my biggest concern, because you have to have your certain number of days with your,
I don't think
for the
so.
afternoon
Right.
students who would miss two.
Amy seemed to think that it was a doable situation.
I feel like as long as Amy feels like, as the administrator at HCTC, as long as she feels like it's a doable situation, then.
I don't want to speak for her, but
Right.
our conversation that we had,
Right.
that was how I felt that she,
That's how it came across to me.
but. Do any of the other building administrators want to chime in on your thoughts? Yeah.
I was just gonna say it from here.
They can't hear you at home from there.
Right. Okay. The only thing I was going to mention to address Paul's concern about activities and extracurriculars is that we have, oftentimes there are practices and rehearsals all through vacation anyway. So they won't necessarily lose that.
Okay.
If the coaches and the advisors choose to have rehearsals. So.
Okay.
Thank you, that's helpful.
I did share that I thought it was a really hard call. The K-4 staff, especially when we're making, I'll use an example of COVID calls. It's really hard when you're having to put kids out and parents are changing work schedules to try to be home and support their kids. It's a really tough call, as I shared before. I had thought that the balance of that, so that we were recognizing and meeting kind of both sides. You weren't taking the whole week. But you were kind of meeting the needs of your staff, which is critical, because if your staff's not ready, your students aren't learning. And also meeting the families by giving them a minor altercation in the calendar. But I do feel it's a tough call both ways.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
that's helpful.
I know for the middle school, we don't have mandatory practices, but oftentimes our coaches will offer what they call optional practices. And 9 times out of 10, it'll be half the team there, but there is an option for them to do that, whether we're in school or not. And I'll just concur with Ms. Clifford. I think this is a tough decision, but I think keeping everybody in mind the way that you have is awesome. I mean, I don't know another word for it. I know this is a hard decision. My staff and I talk a lot about where we are and how much this is taken out. Calling parents, as Ms. Clifford said, about COVID and saying that, I'm sorry, your child has to be out of school. That's happening a little bit less now because of pool testing and vaccinations and stuff like that, but there are still families that have to find a way to work and keep a child home. So I know it's a hard decision. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel, did you want to
Because
add
I was
something?
just curious, how many days do we have total built in? Is it 170?
We have, I believe, 177 days, so we have 2 days cushion, but I believe that EEMS has already used 2 days. So we will have to make up whatever we do on the end for EEMS.
Okay, now I think that's one of the misconceptions that some teachers have.
Okay.
I'm glad that you're saying that on TV, because there is a misconception, I think, that has been put out in social media, that we already have a couple cushion days.
I
So
think
I'm glad
we've
that you're
used
able to say
them.
that
Yeah.
on TV, that we already have, that we don't have those cushion days anymore.
Right.
Because I think some people feel like we still have those. So, thank you.
And to that end, something I think that is important to mention as we're considering is our last calendar day of school right now is June 17th, which is a Thursday. So if we have to add a day at the end of the year to make up for this day, that would be the 18th, which is a Friday, which means if we go over on our snow days by 1 day, we're going to be going to school until June 21st. So that's just something else to keep in mind. I mean, I don't have any idea. I'm just figure, as long as we have all of the information, I know that the 17th feels like a late end date for some people anyway, and then you add the weekend after that, and then you may not have any kids at school on Monday to be able to count the day because of.
Right.
This really is a hard decision. Any more discussion?
I think we do this to retain staff. I think we do this to retain staff. I think we do this to, keep certain, kids and staff that are just absolutely on the edge from going over. This has just never been as difficult as now. And never has mental health been so precarious in any school situation that I've ever seen as it is right now.
Well, and something to keep in mind too is those 2 days that EMS has already used. Generally speaking, teachers are still, they may not be in the building working on those days, but they're still working on those days. So it's not like those 2 days are a day off for them.
Right.
It's a work day potentially from home or in their classroom while cleaning is happening or whatever. So.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to take a vote?
We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
We have discussion.
Mr. Rakozian, can you reread the motion?
Yeah. Move to adjust the calendar to have a half-day on Tuesday, December 21st, and to be off on Wednesday, December 22nd.
Okay.
So half day will count as a day.
Yes.
Okay. So we will, in essence, only be using 1 day.
Yeah. All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. Okay, next item. Item L, calendar and announcements.
Kelly, can I?
Yes.
I referenced the message from Mr. Calandro, but just to
Yes.
put it out there. So we have at the high school this week on Thursday, an art show and concert. The art show is at 5:30 and the concert's at 7. The concert will include show choir, concert choir, jazz band, and symphonic band. All these groups are going to be performing, and there's several kids who are in more than one group. The kids have been working hard and are all incredibly excited to be on stage again for the first time in 2 years. That was from Mr. Calandro. So
Awesome. That's wonderful.
that's, I'm glad he sent that, and I think I urge everyone to attend. Having attended the high school musical, it was great to see an audience back in the auditorium, and there's going to be, I think they're going to do it the same way they did for High School Musical, every other seat, so people will be asked to be spaced out a little bit, and of course, everyone is required to wear a mask in the building at all times, but.
But I think we're having the back open, and they figured like how many per student.
Yeah. So, and the art show is going to be fantastic too, so.
Yeah, the art show they're doing, they're putting it in several different areas rather than all in that cafe area.
Mhm.
So it'll be spread out so that we won't have too large a crowd in any one area at any given time. I already texted him my apology for forgetting to mention it. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, you of all people.
There's a lot going on.
Well, we
And
got it in
yes,
there.
And to that end, Paul, something to keep an eye out for is middle school is recording their concert that will be put out as a video at some point in time. I think they did either a recording or a practice recording today, and they were all in their pajamas.
Love it.
Which is really fantastic.
I don't think I
All right. We have a school board workshop on Tuesday, December 1st, 6 PM here in the chambers.
21st.
21st, here in the chambers. And next school board meeting is Tuesday, January 11th, at 6 PM in the chambers. Item M, adjournment.
Can I add one thing? I
Yeah.
got a text from one of them that said, please remind them, tickets are already given out for the concert. Kids only get 3 tickets to give out
Okay.
to be able to fit everybody in on
Yeah.
the concert.
And are members of the
So-
public?
So what Mrs. Wright just mentioned is that tickets have already been given out to students. Each student will get 3 tickets, got 3 tickets for the
Just
concert. Just for the concert.
Anyone can come to the.
Anyone can come to the art show.
So is the concert open to anyone else, any members of the public, or is that it? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks for that clarification.
Yes, thank you.
All right, item M, adjournment.
Having no further business, I move that we adjourn the board meeting.
I second that.
Discussion. All those in favor? Thank you.
Who seconded it?
Thank you very much.